Here we are. Welcome to the very first Life Change and Transformation podcast. I'm here with Maeve Lankford. She's in Ireland. I'm in Canada. We're doing this together as a collaboration of minds, and in order to help people just really see that they can build a better life for themselves. And a little bit myself is that I am in law enforcement in Canada. I'm just retiring from that, but more importantly, I've been able to endure some challenges through my career and give me the ability to become resilient. And I want to help people learn about what their resilience looks like and how their lives can be different. I've had a chance to become an author and do some other awesome things. And as we go through the podcast, as we start talking with people and we start engaging with people that are listening to us, we're going to, really give some tools and tips and tricks to really focus on improving your life and your situation. Maeve, tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So thank you, Gary. My name is Maeve Lankford, and I'm a life coach here in Ireland, a transformational coach. And having, like Gary, navigated some things in my own life and learned that is so absolutely possible to create transformation in your life, and that any of us can learn that. Success leaves clues, so we can look at what successful people do in terms of, and it's not about whether they're famous or wealthy or whatever, but people who love the life that they're living, and we can learn from how they do that, and we can create it in our own lives. And that's my personal mission, is to support people to design and create lives that they absolutely love living. And that feels so important to me, because for many years in my life I was not living a life that I loved living, and I felt very stuck in that. And I felt there were conditions and circumstances that were just mine to tolerate and survive and get through. And it was an absolute education to me to learn that you could do that completely differently, and you could do that by design, and that you could actually create results that you choose to create, and not just feel like a victim of the circumstances within which we find ourselves. So it was very happy collaboration, I suppose, Gary, for both of us. We through the changes we were making in our own lives, we ended up at some events together and started to share a vision for how we could maybe collaborate and bring some of these ideas and strategies and tools to a wider audience, just podcast by podcast, suggestion by suggestion, tip by tip, and support others to create that kind of change.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Maeve and I met at first in Jasper. We were in Jasper. So a couple of things really had to happen when you talk about transforming your life. You took a big step, right? You took a huge step to come all the way from Ireland to Jasper to an event we were at. And it was an immersive event where we got to really sit around a group of amazing people and feel some really cool energies there, and really build on that and really grow that vision for what we want moving forward, right? And I met Maeve the first time, and then she was amazing light, in my opinion. When I saw her, she had this light. It was really cool. And there was always a draw there for me with you, and it was really cool. Then we had a chance to go to Sedona together, and I can't even there's no words to express what that looked like. It was such an amazing event. It put us on this path, right? We had talked about it there. What does it look like to work together? I mean, and we've had to overcome some challenges just to get here today, right? Because it's the time change alone is large, yes. Right? I'm on exactly. I'm in Western Canada, and she is in Ireland, and so there's an effort that has to be put in to really get to this point. But without those two events, I would never have met Maeve. I wouldn't get a chance to know her. But to be able to work with her now, I'm super excited, because I just love the energy and the message you provide. It's amazing. So really, for those that are listening, understanding that we're here to really send that light out and really send that message out to everybody here that's going to tune into what we're saying and what we're doing. And like I say, without those two immersive events, without opening our minds to those new things, well, we wouldn't be where we are right now. So that's pretty cool. Any thoughts about that?
Well, we've never discussed this before, but what's coming up in me now is that if we find that people love the podcast and love what we're offering, that maybe one day, Gary, we'll have to do our own immersive event, and bring people together to just have a different experience of how we can create change. I think, one of the reasons the podcast is so important in a way is that, it's repetition of these ideas, repetition of the possibility, repetition of, that you can actually create life change and transformation in ways that feel more supportive. I mean, yes, there's still effort. Like you said, it's an effort for us to schedule these things and make it work. But at the same time, there can be an ease and flow to all of that as well. And when you're really lit up by what it is you're wanting to create, as we feel about the podcast, then that effort feels very worthwhile, and yeah, it's just easier to do. So the other way we do it then is through immersion, and those were those immersive experiences we have. And sometimes when you come together like that in that kind of holding space, the ideas come faster, the possibilities feel bigger, and there's that kind of energy again. And of course, I believe we get downloads from the infinite as well, and those intuitive nudges to do and create and be in new and different ways. So yeah, so the podcast is really about growing out of that. Like we were talking before we came online today, saying that it's going to emerge, that we have a vision for it in terms of, yes, supporting everybody who's listening here today, supporting you in creating life change and transformation, and you get to decide what those changes are. You get to decide what you'd love to transform into.
Yes.
But we will share with you the tools and strategies that we share with our own clients and that we know from our own lives. I always say that to people. I walk my talk and I share what I know works. So again, everybody gets to choose. Do they want to try it or experiment with it? It's only in the trial and experimentation that anybody will really know that it works for you or not.
Yeah, that's true.
But we will share with you things that we know work.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to evolve together. This is our very first one where it's very, we're going to grow and evolve as we go through this process as well. So as we grow and evolve, Maeve and I, we will grow and evolve together with all of you listeners. So that's the really exciting part about this, is that we are going to roll through this and we're going to grow, and it's going to be great. You talk about flow. You mentioned flow and ease of flow. Yes, we have to put effort in. Something that really is key is being aware of where that flow is going to take you, right? And having that awareness around, if you're fighting all the time against something and you feel all that resistance all the time, there's got to be a better way, a better, easier way, right? It's like swimming upstream. If you've got a fast moving current, swimming upstream is really, really hard. And you're a swimmer, and so you can relate to currents in the ocean and various things where you swim because you do things in the ocean, which is amazing with the sharks and everything. That's pretty cool. But it's just like, if you're fighting against a current, well, how do you use the current to help you propel you, right? So yes, you're going to put that effort in, but the effort's going to be way less because the current's going to flow you down, right? And that flow is, and that awareness around that feeling, right? So if you're in your life right now and you're feeling like you're getting a lot of resistance, well, let's take a moment and think, why is there a bunch of resistance? What am I fighting against, and what does it feel like, and where can I now take my ideas and go with a flow instead of against the flow? Am I right?
There's the tool right there, folks. What would it look like to flow with the current? And just to acknowledge, Gary, there aren't any sharks really around where I live, but there are definitely currents. There are definitely currents. So yeah, just noticing that capacity to notice, oh my gosh, like this just feels like it's all uphill, push, push, push. And oftentimes it's a shift in perspective that just turns that around. You're still trying to get to where you want to be, but you're going there in a way that just allows you to do that with a bit more ease and grace. And again, I suppose that's one of the things we've learned in our journeys, isn't it? That we get to choose our thinking. We get to choose the questions we ask. We can go from, why is this happening to me, to, well, what would be an easier way to make this move along more gently. So yeah, there's, again, anybody listening, for you, what's a great question you can ask?
Right. I have a question for you. Like, what is that path for you when you talk about your path and where you've been? Has it been a straight line? Because we think linearly, right? People think linearly.
Yeah. For sure. And no, I say this to people all the time. Like and I don't know who said this first, maybe Steve Jobs or somebody, that it's only when you look back that you can join the dots. When you're in the middle of it, it's really messy, and you don't see why this is happening the way it's happening, or you don't see connections all the time. When you and I first spoke in Sedona, it was like, I don't really know why we're being guided to talk and collaborate and what that's going to look like. It's only now we can say, well, that was leading us towards a podcast, but we didn't know that. And maybe it'll lead us on to an immersive event that we run together. Who knows? But
Exactly.
if there's ease and flow, and would you love that? Yeah, if we would, then bring it on. We'll keep moving with it. But no, I mean, my career started in human resources in the university sector, and initially I loved that. I loved being in that kind of learning environment. And after a few years, I kind of got to a place where I wasn't really sure I could add a whole lot more, and I felt a bit frustrated. Maybe my values weren't aligning so well with the organization I was in at the time. And I kind of had a longing. I grew up in a self-employed household, and part of me kind of longed for owning my own business and doing that. But that felt really scary as well, And part of my growing up was, my mom in particular saying, "You don't want to do this, working all the hours and." Working weekends, and don't do that. Have a nice, safe public sector job. Wouldn't that be so much nicer? Um, and it was nice for as long as it was nice, but then there was
Yeah.
that longing there as well for something different. And yeah, it was not a straightforward route, and I spent many years feeling frustrated and wanting to leave but not leaving, because the security and the salary was all very attractive. And yet for me, it was not until the pain got so bad that I just couldn't stay anymore. Other people, they know, they love what it is they're moving towards, and that draws them, and they can work with that. For me, it was the push of the pain. um, but did it all make sense at the time? Did I know, from year one to I'm now in year 8 in my own business, like, did I know how that was going to go from the outset? Absolutely not. And it's still changing. Even in Sedona, I said, we share a mentor and coach. Even there, I said, like, I never planned on doing a podcast. Like, where did that come from? And our mentor was great. She said, of course it's not about the podcast, it's about what you want to do. And you and I, we want to share tools and strategies. We want to support people to create the kind of transformation they want, and not feel at the victim of life's events. And is a podcast a good way to do that? Absolutely. So here we are, and it only makes sense in retrospect.
For sure. Yeah. Like looking back to, you think that's funny. You say you can't connect the dots until you look back, which is really true. It's that hindsight, right? That 2020 hindsight where, we often use it in a connotation that isn't always positive. Right? Well, if I would have known what I've known then, what I know now, I would have done things differently, right? It's that piece
Yeah.
of regret. Whereas now, with what we've been doing with our life, with creating a vision and understanding what our why is, understanding that awareness around how I want to live my life. When I look back now, I don't have that same when I say I look back, oh, that's how I got here. And that's amazing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of, oh, if I would have known that then, I would have changed this along the way. Well, no, I look back and I see it differently now when I
Yes.
reflect back on where I've come from, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, working with our mentor, with our coach. I mean, she's been imperative in my growth, imperative in a lot of things that I've been able to accomplish in the last few years, by just being there and guiding and having that person that sort of taps you on the shoulder and sees your blind spots, right? Which is an awareness piece too, right? We all have these moments in time where we live life and we sort of go through life, and she says it brilliantly. You either live life by default, live life by design, right? And I think you can agree with that piece of it, right? We want to live life
Exactly.
by that design piece. And as soon as we understand we can live life by design, we can choose the life we want, we can choose the direction we go. Well, it opens up so many doors, but you got to have the awareness to understand, hey, I can make this choice. And the moment you understand that, then you can start to explore avenues like a podcast, just like this, right?
Exactly.
where you can say, I'm going to tune into this instead of that, whatever that is. You fill in the blank, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, another great tool if we, breaking this down for each listener here
Mhm.
today, just, that's a tool that you can put in your armory, just knowing I get to choose. I can design a life that I want, or I can just, keep going on this default. And in the absence of designing, for sure, it's going to be on default. And that's why they say, some people live 90 years and some people live the same year 90 times.
Right.
And I know for me, I got really sick of living the same year in
Mm-hmm.
that old job
Mm-hmm.
and feeling like, here we go again. It doesn't have to be like that. It so
Right.
doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. And like, I come from a world of law enforcement. Of course, I've been a police officer. I have been for 25 years. Right. So when I joined, in my brain, it had in my head, I'm going to do this for 25 years. Um, and at the time, I joined for the right reasons. Like, I joined because I wanted to help people. I wanted to keep my community safe, and I wanted to be able to really lean into being a part of that solution for our community, and that was really appealing to me. And I was young; I was 20 years old when I joined policing, so I didn't know any different. Right? I went in very blind, and I went in with just all that I'm going to change the world attitude, right? And I worked through my career, and it really, my career was amazing, and I can't say anything really um, negative about my career itself. There were negative times. I had a period of time where I wouldn't have said that. I think if you would have asked me 10, 12 years ago, I would have a very different answer. Um, but my experiences through all that and being there has really opened my eyes to change, right? And so even inside a career like that, where people join and they want to join for it's a service thing, it's a drive, it's wanted to help the community, because most people join those types of organizations like fire, police, EMS, whatever that is, right? To really be a part of that community and be a part of the change and serve their community.
Sure.
So you may not want to change your career path, but maybe you can change how you live your personal life too, right? So it could be two different things, right? It may not be just a career change where you're like, I don't like my career, but maybe it's like, I want to improve my family life. I want to have a stronger connection with my wife and my son and my daughter, or I want to have a strong connection with my parents because I was sort of been estranged from them for a while. Whatever that looks like for you, right? So whoever's listening, this encompasses more than just like that one stream of like a career, right?
For sure.
This can impact your immediate family, your extended family, your friend group. You can improve your friendships and keep better people in your life that support you. So there's a lot of things here that we're going to give to you for the next period of time here through this podcast to really improve all of those situations. Because I believe it's a holistic thing. It's your life is like it's not just one thing. We focus a lot on our careers because it's just we're career focused lots of
Spend
times,
a lot
right?
of time in our
Right.
careers.
Because we're there lots, right? We're working all the time. That's how we make money. That's how we do
Exactly.
our fun stuff. But if you can have an amazing family to come home to, I had another mentor that said something to us that really struck out when I first started to personal develop and grow. And he said that if people are going to a job they hate and coming home to a family that they can't stand, right? Because they're not in a good place at work,
Mm.
they're not in a good place at home. And so we want to be able to stop that cycle of going to a job they really despise and coming home to a family that they just can't be around because they're just not in a good place together. If we can improve both of that, how much better would the world be, right? How much,
Absolutely.
right?
And even within that, again, expanding that even further, we call this life change and transformation, and it's about life, a full spectrum life. So I think that includes, our health as well, and our well-being, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. I think when we talk about relationships, it can include our relationship with ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as well. I mean, and absolutely, you talked about relationship with family and friends and extended family, colleagues, maybe, and all of that's important. And so is the relationship with ourselves. And in many respects, I think when that's solid, we're
Mm-hmm.
we're better with all the other people in our lives.
Yeah.
And of course, time and money freedom as well. Oftentimes people, I used to see this so much when I was in the kind of institutional work, that like, people are looking to their holidays, looking to their retirement to kind of, that's going to be when they do the things that they really want to do and have the experiences, or go on the vacations, or visit the places, or, pursue the hobbies. And like, why would we put that off, for 20, 30, 40 years? You want to bring some of that in now. And,
Mhm.
again, I'm sure if you're listening, you might be thinking that, there's no time for that, Maeve. And I get that. But what I know to be true, and this is why we want to share some of these things with you, is that, when you're really clear that you love something, you'll make the time for it. Like,
Mhm.
we're making the time for the podcast. I mean, it wasn't easy to say, let's
Mhm.
fit this in, but when you're, inspired again, anybody who's been listening to me for a while, you'll know, like, I was struggling for a while in my business, that all my hours were in work, work, work. That was the only paradigm I knew: work longer, harder,
Mhm.
faster. And yet there was this longing to have time in the evenings, time to see my friends, time for my family, time to, develop some hobbies, or go back to when I started knitting and crochet again. And I mean, that might sound really twee, I don't know, but for me, I wanted to do that, and I get great pleasure from doing it. So yeah, full spectrum
Awesome.
lives, and making space for all of it is what this is all about.
Sweet. I agree. So as we come to the end here, I want people to know that we're going to be doing this every 2 weeks. We're going to have a podcast for you guys to listen to every 2 weeks. So we're when we've talked about just making be present for you guys, and having the best topics for you guys, and giving you the most value. So every 2 weeks, we'll be posting for these podcasts. It's going to be awesome. And as we engage with you, if you want to send us something you want us to talk about, or something else for dive into, we would love to have that feedback from everybody who's listening, as well as, hey, if you have a question for us, send us a question. Maybe we can answer that during that time as well. And I really thank you for joining us on our first inaugural sailing of said podcast. It's been awesome. Maybe any closing comments?
Yeah, just to say thank you so much for being with us today, Gary. Thank you to you for, leaning into this collaboration together, and just real excitement for where it can go, and yeah, the changes that we can support people to
Yeah,
make in their lives. And guys, give us a thumbs up, or a like, or a share. As we see what's working for you, we'll give you more of that. And yeah, we'll grow together, as Gary
exactly.
mentioned.
We're going to grow and expand together. And like I say, if you like what we have to say, make sure you share us with people. That would be awesome. And, you know, we don't have an actual social media handle for the podcast itself, but for each of us, we each have our own social media. Mine's Frontline Resiliency Project. That's kind of everything for my Instagram and Facebook and whatnot, as well as I'm on LinkedIn as well. So under my name, Gary Benoit. And I think Maeve has some similar.
Yeah, it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all
Yeah,
under my name, Maeve Lankford.
Maeve
So
Lankford. There
delighted
it
to
is.
connect with
Yeah,
people there. And the links, I think, are in the bios
yeah.
here on the site for anybody
So
who'd
yeah,
like to
so
find
we'll
them.
add that. So thanks again,
Great job.
and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.